Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Liquis Digital Marketing Podcast. Today we are here with Andy and we are talking about branding from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is really important for people to think about because so many times we get caught up in like branding as, you know, what everyone else sees, but really it starts inside. And so I want to start with the first thing that probably comes to mind, which is brand guidelines. And that is like, most people are thinking, okay, logo, colors, fonts.
Yes.
Different,
how to use them.
Yeah, like what's allowed. Yeah, spacing, different like stacking of logos for different things. Like the word mark versus there's so many things. The emblem, there's just a lot that goes into that. It's like a huge document, especially for bigger companies.
Yes.
And a lot of it focuses on like the external, right?
Right.
But the thing is like before you can even get to that, before you can even have something external that really connects with people, you have to know what your company's all about. You have to have a couple other things. And so it's not just those things, but it's also your values as a company.
Yes.
Because everything that you put out, everything you do, your tone, all of that, your voice has to replicate those values. Yeah. And you have to match up with your audience. And it's not just values, but also like purpose.
Right.
Like, what is the purpose of your business? Like, what is the purpose of your company?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like some companies make it really simple. And I'm going to mess this up. But I think I always go back to Jeff Bezos because he was really great, like branding guy. And I know he says like branding is like what your customers say behind your back.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. And then another thing, I think it was Zappos. I don't know if they're still around, but they were like that shoe company.
Yep.
So maybe it's not a great example. They're not around anymore.
They have to be around.
But they had their purpose was to make smiles or bring smiles to the customers, something like that. Like
something like that. Yep.
Yeah, like make every customer smile, and so they had like incredible, impeccable customer service, and so like that is part of the brand, and I think that's the part that a lot of people forget.
Totally.
Yeah. So I know here. We've joked around, like, we would want to have fun.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in a previous episode. Like, that's one of the things. Like, fun is part of, our environment because it needs to be, like, for us and for our clients, too. Like,
absolutely. And I know one of the things we always have is we're here to help.
Yeah.
Like that's the one.
That's our real core value.
Yeah, and we do like so when if I'm on a call with like a potential lead and maybe we're not a good fit for them or they're not a good fit for us, I'm gonna at least give them as much help as I can. Just because that's like that part of our brand. That's who we are. We're there to help, and that's.
And that's a perfect example of someone interacting with the brand on a sales call. They're not just interacting with the sales guy or with your social media post or whatever, but like all of those interactions are part of the brand.
Totally.
And you have to have like purpose. You have to have values. And I know in previous episodes, we've also talked about the flywheel. And that helps with the purpose of your company. So if you know where you're going and you know the momentum that you're trying to build with your company, that really helps like you position yourself as a brand.
And I think one other thing to really understand, and I think a lot of business owners when they're getting into this is they don't realize what brand means. They think it's those outward things, the colors, the logo. They think the brand is the logo, and it's really not. Like that's just an element within your brand. If your brand is like Andy's saying, your voice, your everything. So it's not your logo. It's just a piece of your brand.
Right. And it kind of makes me like I want to skip ahead just a little bit.
Right.
Based off of what you just said, because it's like it's so much more than that, and we think about what are we the best at?
Right.
Like, what are you the best at? And, we're saying, we do amazing work in marketing. We have really great problem solving when it comes to technical issues and systems and developing websites and stuff like that. But it's just like there's a million ways to skin a cat, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, what is going to set you apart as a company from other people? Yes. And so, like, what you're talking about is, like, giving the client or the potential client, the lead, just this person, this other business owner, this fellow business owner.
Yes.
As much support as you can.
Yep.
They might call up 5 other agencies and not even get close to that level of support.
Right. Yep.
So like that's part of your brand too. And I think knowing what you're the best at and then curating that to the needs of your ideal customer is so important.
Totally. Yep.
And we've talked about that too before, like what the ideal customer looks like. And,
right.
And the thing about that is like when we're thinking about that and we're positioning ourselves and we're creating all of these visual elements, we're not just doing it because that's what we think looks cool.
Right.
We're doing it because we're trying to connect with this audience. And so like higher end brands will have a different look than like a kid's store, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so really just taking the audience into like that visual relationship as well, something they can connect with.
Yeah.
And totally. It's like I always kind of something and this just comes to my mind, but vanilla is a great flavor of ice cream, right? Yeah. It's like the base, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't want to just be the base. You don't want to just be a vanilla company. You want to have like your own flair on that. You want to be like mocha almond fudge.
Exactly.
Where you add a little chocolate into your vanilla. And you know what I mean? So it's like but you're going towards a specific demographic with your flavor. And I think people get afraid to do that.
Right. And why do you think that is? Is it because they're afraid that it's going to exclude certain individuals?
They are. And then, because it's like, well, I can do everything, so I'm going to tell everybody I can do everything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the everything one-stop shop. But the thing is like, well, that you can't be the best at everything.
To everybody. Right? Yeah.
Yes. And so they are afraid to lose out on people, but the cool thing is, and this is why, so this is kind of going like a little off, but I'm going to come back and make it make sense. So before it was like niche down, and that's what we're talking about, like niche down and do what you do really well, and so that you can build off of that.
Right.
And just like, so you guys are probably familiar with Kendall Jenner. I think it's Kendall. Yes. She's the one, the makeup girl. I was just watching, she owns a makeup business. Well, she started out as like lip kits by, is it Kylie? I think it's Kylie. I think it's the other one.
Yeah.
She's the one with the lips, right?
Yeah.
Lip kits by Kylie. And she like sold out within like a second on her website. And they were like, whoa, we're onto something. We're going to do cosmetic or Kylie's Cosmetics now.
Right.
And so they expanded on their brand, right? So it's really good to start with that one thing that everyone knows you for, the thing that you do really well, and then branch out from there. Because if she would have started at the whole cosmetics line, that might have confused people.
Yeah.
It might have been like, oh, another Kardashian just doing whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, just, here's another perfume line or clothing line or whatever.
Right.
So, and that's a different thing because she has a huge following, but it's not in the sense that she did it the right way, and that's why she became so successful.
Right. Yeah.
So that's like a big end idea of that, of just being like specifically who you are.
Yeah.
And what's funny now is you're going to start hearing this, and I'm hearing this more and more, is the experts, the people whoever they are, you know, whoever comes out and says it first, they're like, now we're not niching anymore, we're not excluding anybody anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like one day it's one thing it's another. And that just goes to show you, like, if you're just true to yourself and your brand and your values and your purpose, then that is what should be your litmus test.
And that you having that personality and your brand having that personality and that brand is going to magnetize the people that are going to follow you. It's going to bring those people that you want to work with to you.
Right.
You know.
And it brings longevity because it's not just this like surface level.
Yeah. And you're not trying to be something you're not.
Right.
You're just being you.
Or being with a trend or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about voice and tone, but the thing about that is when we talked about brand guidelines a little bit is that we have to be consistent.
Right.
So when we're doing copy of any kind, whether it's on your website, whether it's the way you communicate with your customers on a call, anything that gets out there in the world, social media, podcasting, like you have that friend, like for us, we have that friendly, fun tone, like that's just us. But then another company who might appeal to a different audience might have a more like formal or I don't even know what the right term would be, but just more of a
Right.
I don't want to say boring. That's what I would think of.
Yeah.
But it's just like some people are really matter of fact.
Yeah.
And some people like to connect on a different like emotional level. And
exactly.
That's where we tend to attract.
Yeah.
But really like speaking in the way that your clients speak, because like we're talking about Kylie. Is it Kylie or Kendall? Kylie.
Yep.
The way she's going to talk to her customers is different than we're going to talk to our customers.
Right. Absolutely. And if we did talk to our customers like Kylie, it would probably be like kind of a little bit of a shock, right? They'd be like, "Whoa, wait, hold on.
I know.
Who are you again? Because this doesn't match the brand."
They have the best memes and things that they say though. Oh, they're funny. But so yeah, just having the right tone, and that's consistent across all levels, voice, and then consistency in how you show up, and how often.
And think about it from an advertising perspective, even in your branding. So, like, look at like Jack in the Box commercials are so much different than the other fast foods, right? Like they're kind of like always, I don't even know what the word is, not in your face, but they're always kind of like a little bit of like shocking or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They kind of always kind of push the envelope a little more than like McDonald's commercials do.
Yeah.
Not that I guess I pay that much attention, but I've always noticed that the Jack in the Box commercials are always like, crazy. So it's like their voice, it's their personality.
Right.
And
and that appeals to their audience. Totally.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the thing about, there's this metaphor that I've heard another marketing agency say, and it's that, like, we don't care, you just have to look a certain way on the outside. And, we'll make you look really good. Your Instagram profile is going to look on point. Your website's going to look really great. And it doesn't matter what's going on underneath all of that. Okay. It's like this messy bed. So, your sheets and all of you might have like laundry under your bed, and all of that, but it's made, and so it looks really nice. And so it looks like you have your crap together.
Yeah. Okay.
But you don't, because when you pull over the covers and you look in your bed, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And so some people are treating their brand like that, where it just looks really good on the outside, but then the minute someone tries to interact with the brand, or fill out a form, or go through a flow of any kind, it's a mess.
Yep.
And so that really irked me as a marketing person. I'm like, no, because they're forgetting that the user experience is so much to do with your, like, that the user experience is like part of your brand.
Exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah. And I think back to us and like how, we have people that kind of come in and we've really thought through like from the beginning to the end, and we're always improving. Obviously no one's perfect, but there is, I think there's, when a company kind of looks at like how someone comes into the company all the way to the end, and you look at that whole experience, when you look at the really successful brands out there, that's like Apple, like think of like the whole journey someone goes through, it's just
it's seamless, and they're thinking ahead. Right. So you're thinking about, how is my customer gonna respond to this, or what would be their next step with me for that. And you don't want to set up like this amazing brand, a marketing campaign with your new brand, and then not be able to really facilitate the customers that come in.
Yeah, exactly.
And build those relationships. And so for me, I think like that is something that's really important. We can't forget systems. We love systems. We always talk about systems. But we can't forget like having everything being completely set up and ready. Right. And we're not saying drag your feet forever or before a launch or anything like that. Right. It's just a little bit of thinking ahead of your customer.
And I think if businesses did that more, because there's so many that don't, if you did that in your industry, most likely that's going to be enough to really set you apart, I think, in most industries. Because I don't think enough businesses are really doing that. No. And doing it consistently and improving upon that. If that was something business focused on, that would be a huge win for them.
Right. And I don't think people really, business owners, realize that customers really want that next thing. They get that small win. They get what they're looking for. And they're not looking to just be done. Right. They want to know, okay, what's next? What's my next step? Right. How do I get better? How do I keep going?
Right.
Okay, great. I just won all of these, clients through this marketing campaign. Well, now what do I do with them?
Right.
Or how do I give my clients the next step?
Yeah.
So it's thinking ahead on, not just what your clients are doing, but if you're a marketing agency yourself, like what your clients' are doing.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
there's a lot to think about, and it's really just when you bring it back down, it's just human nature.
Right.
It's just, what do we want? Why do we want it?
Yes.
And what's our main goal?
Yeah.
And so thinking about your customer in that way will help you really speak to them.
Absolutely.
In a way that connects and brings them in further and further.
Yeah.
As you go. Yeah.
Perfect. That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's pretty much, I think,
Yeah.
the crux of it all.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
But it's really, and that's why we titled this Branding from the Inside Out, is because a lot of times people are thinking like it goes outside and then what's under the covers or what's inside the company, nobody's going to notice. Yeah. And big brands get that right. They really facilitate like internal communication, internal marketing. But we don't.
And they have the resources to do that too, right? So they have like probably a team that can handle and create documentation so the whole company understands what the brand is and the messaging and all of that. But if you're not to that level, which most people aren't, it's important to have some documentation. Make sure your whole team is on the same page, because if one person understands the brand but nobody else does, then it doesn't really work. So doing the things like the flywheel and going through like different branding exercises and really like documenting what your voice is and who you are and who your audience is and how you speak to them. Obviously having consistency with the colors and the logos and having everybody on the same page. That
just shows you're legitimate, but it doesn't really give them like anything else past that.
Right. Yep.
And what you're saying with the internal, one person in your company maybe knowing what's going on and the rest don't. Like when we talked about our main mission is to help.
Right.
And that doesn't just mean our customers.
Right.
We help each other.
Yes.
We lift each other up. We encourage personal and professional development.
Right.
And so it's anything that is helpful is what we're all about. We're not, that's like our litmus test. If it's not helpful, then that's not really worth our time. But if it is, let's invest in that. That's good.
Totally. Yeah.
So
cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up here. So thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.